When I Fall by Scarlet Emerald 32. Chapter 23.
Don't look at him. Look at me.
Dwight pulled his gaze from where Daryl was still glowering in the corner and looked up at Rick.
Why?
Because I want it done. I want Negan dead.
So then why don't you kill him?
Well, it can't just be me. They're all Negan.
Dwight caught Talisa's eye as he spoke, and she understood the implication. She flexed her hand and balled it into a fist. She refused to even consider what he'd said. Tara walked into the cell and squatted in front of Dwight.
That girl you murdered, she had a name. Her name was Denise. She was a doctor. She helped people.
Dwight looked up at her with an apologetic expression.
I wasn't aiming for her.
Daryl moved so quickly no one had time to react. He shoved past Rick and slammed Dwight against the wall, pulling out his hunting knife and holding it up to Dwight's eye.
Do it, Daryl!
Dwight looked calmly at him, not struggling at all.
If you want to end it this way, go ahead. I'm sorry. I really am. I know you want to do it.
He could just be here to see if you came back. We can't trust him.
Dwight's face hardened as he looked past Daryl to Rick.
He owned me, but not anymore. Everything I did, I was doing for someone else.
He looked over to Talisa now.
Sometimes you do things you hate to protect people you love, but she got away, so now I'm here.
He shifted his gaze back to Daryl.
And so are you, because of her.
Do it, Daryl!
Tara urged again, but Daryl was starting to look uncertain.
There's another choice.
Daryl!
Daryl, you knew her. Negan trusts me. If we work together, we can stop him. You knew me then, and you know me now. I'm not lying.
Do it, Daryl!
Daryl looked from her back to Dwight. He raised his arm as if he was steeling himself for the blow, but at the last second he shoved Dwight back hard and walked away. Tara made a furious noise and stormed out of the cell.
They have Sasha, if she's even still alive.
What?
Jesus pushed off the wall where he'd been leaning and walked over to her.
Why didn't you say something? This guy could be our only chance to get her back.
Because I don't trust him.
Rosita crossed her arms and looked back into the cell.
But I do trust Daryl.
Dwight looked around at them cautiously as he spoke again.
Negan's coming soon. Probably tomorrow. 3 trucks. Probably about 30 saviors in him. I can slow them down, take down some trees in the road. Give you some time to get ready. Oh, if you can take them out, that's where we start. You kill them, and I'll radio back to the sanctuary.
The sanctuary?
Where Negan lives. That's what they call it. I can radio back and say everything is okay. You drive the trucks back, and I can lead you right inside, and with the right plan, we can wipe out the rest. Check to see if your friend is still alive.
Our friends.
Talisa corrected coldly, still glaring at him. Dwight turned to her with a nod before continuing.
If we get the workers on our side, then we have the numbers, and we can go from outpost to outpost and end this.
Everyone looked down at him in silence. Talisa knew they were all thinking the same thing she was. It was a good plan, the most solid plan they'd had yet. The main hiccup being it hinged on trusting the man who'd killed one of their own and helped capture 2 others. After another tense moment, Rick spoke again.
Keep talking.
They talked for another 2 hours, Rick questioning Dwight over and over about the same specific details, trying to trip him up or catch him in a lie, but he held strong. After that, when Rick had finally decided to trust him, they moved on to strategy and positioning. Dwight told them everything they needed to know about the sanctuary and how to infiltrate it. Talisa forced herself to stay calm whenever he mentioned Negan's officers and their positions. She knew he was wrong about Eugene, but the mere idea of it turned her stomach. When Rick finally walked him to the gates, it was almost midnight. Talisa took a seat on the steps of Deanna's porch, watching Rick and Daryl speaking quietly by the gate as Dwight disappeared into the darkness down the road. Rosita walked up and sat down beside her.
What do you think?
If we can trust him, I think it's probably going to work, and we'll have this thing well on the way to being done by this time tomorrow.
That's a big ass if.
Talisa gave a small snort of laughter.
I know, right?
Look, I don't know how to say this. I kept going back and forth on whether I wanted to, but in the end I thought I'd be pissed if it were me and no one told me, even if it did hurt.
Talisa felt the rush of cold that had nothing to do with the weather go through her again, as she looked over and met Rosita's eye.
What is it?
I saw him.
Rosita's expression seemed almost apologetic, as if she wished she could be saying anything else.
While Sasha and I were scouting out the sanctuary, I saw Eugene. He was doing what Dwight said he was. Walking the perimeter and giving orders. He didn't look like a prisoner.
Talisa put her face in her hands and let out a long, slow breath. When she looked back up, she saw tears forming in Rosita's eyes.
For the last week, every single one of you has been keeping me from going crazy by telling me that Eugene is smart, and that he's useful, and that Negan wants him for his brain. But now, at the first sign of trouble, you are so quick to believe the worst. After everything you've been through with him, he's playing the game Rosita. Don't you get that? Of course, he's working with them on the surface because he's going to position himself a lot better and get us a lot more valuable intel than he would sitting locked in a cage. Not to mention be a hell of a lot easier to get to when we go in. I never expected him to sit in a cage and refuse to cooperate. That's not the smart play.
Damn, why the hell didn't I think of that? You're right. And you're right about me too. I should have had more faith in him. How is it that you've only known him for 2 months, and you understand and believe in him more than the people who've known him for years?
Because I love him. I love him more than I ever thought I could love anybody again. Being away from him has proved that to me, and I know he wouldn't betray me. Not like that. It's the only thing I have left to hold on to.
Snagged you a few more cans of beefaroni haircut.
Laura, one of the saviors assigned to help Eugene out, tossed him the can, and he nodded in thanks.
Thank you. And while I appreciate your attention to detail and offer of friendship in remembering my canned pasta preferences, I will remind you I have asked you to please not refer to me by that particular moniker.
Oh, right. My bad.
She leaned against the rail next to him, looking down at the work floor of the factory.
What's up with that anyway? You know I don't mean it as an insult, right? I think the mullet is pretty bad.
It has nothing to do with your opinion of my chosen hairstyle, I assure you.
All right then.
She raised her hands in surrender, pushing off the rail.
Guess I'll see you around.
She walked down the hallway and down the stairs onto the work floor.
It's what she called you, isn't it?
Eugene turned his head and saw Dwight standing a few feet away.
Excuse me?
Dwight walked over to stand next to him and leaned against the railing like he had.
I've been thinking things through, putting together the pieces, and I think they're finally falling into place. That chick, the pretty one back in Alexandria with the long dark hair, and the tattoos, the one Negan likes.
He shot a look over at Eugene.
The one who begged him not to kill you? You two weren't just friends, were you? And that was her nickname for you, wasn't it?
Eugene shot him a furtive look as he responded.
My personal life prior to integrating myself as a cog in the machine that is Negan is none of your concern.
So, a guy like you had a girl like that, and you actually ditched her for this?
If you recall, my relocation to this facility was hardly of my choosing. To put it succinctly, life has given me a big-ass basket of lemons lately, and I am doing my damnedest to turn it into proverbial lemonade, for me and for her.
Dwight leaned forward so he could see Eugene's face and looked at him in disbelief.
For her? What the hell are you imagining is going to happen? You know as well as I do what's going to go down today. You really think you're going to save her from that?
Yes, I do. I believe the combination of my proven loyalty to Negan in the past week and the already established affection he has shown for her will allow me to plead my case as to why she would be a valuable asset.
Okay, maybe that's true. But let's play that out, Eugene. You just said it. She's already on Negan's radar. You really think he's just gonna let you bring her back here and what? Hole up in your tiny ass little apartment together, having babies and living happily ever after?
Dwight sighed as he looked down into the work floor.
Look, you're smart. I know that you know how things went down with me. Sherry was my wife before she was Negan's. She married him to save my life. And if you think it won't happen to you, you're wrong, man.
He looked up at Eugene again.
If he wants her, he'll find a way. It'll start small, but it'll set you up to do something wrong to let him down. And when he does, that'll be his solution. I saw her face when he was going to kill you. She'd do it. To save your life, she'd do it. And then you'll have to watch her slowly start to hate herself and hate you too. Trust me, it's hell.
Why are you telling me this? Neither of us have an option here. I'm Negan, and so are you. We made our choices and they are binding. The only option left to me is to move forward the best I can. And to that point, I'm sorry to have to put it so plainly, but you and I are not the same. I possess the mental capabilities to keep myself one step ahead and on Negan's good side at all times, and I have every intention of continuing that strategy and improving upon it when I bring Talisa into the fold. You were disloyal, and therefore found yourself in an uphill battle to rebuild that trust. I will not make that mistake. Talisa and I will be fine here, and as soon as I make her understand that, to answer your original question, yes, I do fully intend to build a life with her here.
Dwight shook his head and sighed.
You're wrong, Eugene. And by the time you figure that out, it's gonna be too late.
They actually showed up in garbage trucks.
Tara and Talisa were watching as the huge vehicles pulled through their gates.
Yeah, not really helping my case as far as getting Rick to come up with a better name for them than the garbage people, huh?
Jadis hopped out of the front of one of the trucks and looked around at the houses in Alexandria with mild interest as Rick and Michonne walked over to her.
What you fight for?
The people, not the place. We fight for each other. You're a part of that now.
Jadis smirked slightly and shook her head.
We don't bother our way.
She glanced up at the houses again, seemingly deep in thought.
Maybe another way.
After another minute, her gaze shifted back to Rick and Michonne, and she assessed them both with an amused half-smile.
Yours?
She nodded to Rick, and Michonne looked startled. She looked from Jadis to Rick and back uncertainly.
Yeah? I mean, we're together. I lay with him after, you mind?
Talisa pressed her lips together and turned her face away to hide her involuntary snort of laughter when she saw the look on Michonne's face. When she looked back, she noticed the corners of Rick's mouth twitching slightly too.
We should get back to work.
He and Michonne walked away, but Jadis seemed completely unperturbed by his rejection. She simply watched them leaving with a vaguely amused expression before turning her attention slowly to Tara and Talisa standing off to the side. She turned to walk towards them.
Oh, shit. I'm gonna go fix the thing with the guns.
Coward.
Yup.
Tara hurried away without looking back as Jadis walked up to Talisa and looked her up and down.
You came with others, brought guns.
Yep, I did.
You fight?
Yes, I'm going to fight.
Why?
This place is my home. I was here before Rick came. I want to defend what is mine, and these people. Besides, the Saviors took someone from me, someone I love, and I intend to get him back.
Your man?
Talisa nodded.
Taking back what is yours. Good reason to fight.
Talisa wasn't quite sure what to say to that, so she simply nodded as they both watched the buzz of activity around them while everyone prepared.
I like your name, by the way. Jadis, like the White Witch from Narnia. Very intimidating.
Jadis looked down at her with a questioning expression, and Talisa thought she may have seemed slightly impressed, but she wasn't sure.
You know this story.
Oh, sure. I loved those books as a kid. Jadis was a powerful queen from a dying world who got transplanted into a different world by accident and ended up becoming the villain because she didn't fit into the way that world was made.
Jadis smirked now, and the appreciation was more evident in her expression.
Your name?
Talisa.
Its meaning?
It doesn't really have one, not officially. My dad's grandma was named Talia. My mom's was Lisa. They could never agree on a girl's name, so in the end, they just combined them. My mom told me that she looked it up once they decided on it and found out that in Spanish it means someone noble and strong. So that's what they went with.
Jadis shot her a small half-smile.
Suits you.
Well, thanks.
Talisa put her hands in her jacket pockets as she looked out across the compound again.
You come with us. Went over, you and your man.
Talisa chuckled and shook her head.
Somehow, I don't think dump life would suit us very well.
There are worse lives. You think about it.
Sure.
Okay, we're all set. Time for everyone to get in position. They'll be here soon.
We talk after.
Jadis patted Talisa's shoulder, walking towards the guard post where she was to stand with Rick. Talisa moved to her spot by the gate between Rosita and Tara.
You ready for this?
Rosita held up the trigger button in her hand.
Let's blow that bastard back to hell where he belongs.
They heard the sound of multiple vehicles in the distance, and Rick looked down at them from his spot on the tower to their left.
When I give the signal, Rosita, you're sure the wall's gonna hold?
It'll hold.
The first truck came into view, and as it did, Talisa felt as though someone had punched another hole straight through her chest.
No.
Talisa!
She ignored her. Her legs compelled her as if she wasn't even in control as she stepped to the gate, grasping the bars to steady herself. Eugene was standing in the back of the lead truck with a megaphone in his hand. Rosita had been right. He was clean and healthy, wearing an all-black outfit accompanied by a long trench coat, and he showed no signs of being mistreated or held captive. As she watched them approach, he raised the megaphone.
Every contingency has already been met. I come armed with 2 barrels of the truth. A test is upon you, and I'm giving out the cheat sheet.
A cold, icy dread began to creep through every inch of Talisa's body, freezing her to the spot. The truck pulled up level with the blockade they'd made, and Eugene hopped down and climbed onto the back of one of the flat beds so he could look up at Rick. Talisa saw his eyes shift to her for a brief second, but then he quickly looked away again, and her dread intensified.
Hello?
Even in the midst of her terror and confusion, his sweet, genuine voice was like an arrow directly in her heart. She hadn't let herself feel, until that moment, just how much she'd truly missed him. He kept his attention on Rick as he spoke again.
I come salved with the hope that it is my dropped knowledge that you heed. Options are 0 to none. Compliance and fealty are your only escape. Bottom lining it, you may thrive or you may die. I sincerely wish for the former, for everyone's sake.
His eyes shifted quickly to her again as he spoke. Shock, fury, betrayal, and despair all washed over her at once in a suffocating wave. She stepped back from the gate, slowly staring at him with the horrifying realization that the man standing before her was someone she didn't even know. She felt a hand close around hers as Tara pulled her back in line with them, holding on to her tightly. Eugene must have seen the reaction in her eyes, because pain flashed across his face as he turned back to Rick.
The jig is up. Will you comply, Rick?
Rick didn't respond for a long moment. Talisa looked up at him and saw the same shock and betrayal written all over his features. He stared hatefully down at Eugene as the seconds ticked by, and then finally spoke.
Where's Negan?
Eugene looked up at him, his face full of pity and sadness. He sighed deeply, and once again his eyes shifted to Talisa. He closed his eyes tightly, and when he opened them again, he looked back at Rick just as stonily.
I'm Negan.
Talisa felt Tara's arm tighten around her side, but this time there was no need. Her legs hadn't given out at the proclamation. She didn't feel as if she were breaking. On the contrary, it was as if Eugene's words had been the final piece. The cold disbelief that had been creeping through her as he spoke settled into her heart and froze her solid. She didn't know who the man standing in front of her was, but he wasn't the man she loved. Rick closed his eyes and looked away. He met Rosita's eye and gave her a nod. Her eyes were brimming with furious tears as she looked down at the detonator in her hand and then back up at Talisa. Talisa knew no matter what Rick said, Rosita would never press that button until she gave the word. Talisa met her tearful gaze with her own and slowly nodded. Rosita closed her eyes and a tear slid down her cheek as she flipped up the tab and pressed her finger over the button. Talisa wanted to close her eyes as well, but she couldn't. For all her anger and hurt, she couldn't resist the impulse to see his face, just one more time. His eyes met hers, and she saw the fear there as he realized what was happening. But the seconds ticked by, and as the silence grew around them, Talisa met Rosita's fearful gaze. Suddenly, all of Jadis's people turned in unison, pointing their weapons back at those inside the walls instead of those outside.
No!
Rosita gasped, but it was too late. The people nearest them grabbed their weapons and threw them on the ground, forcing them to their knees. When Talisa looked back up, she saw that Eugene was openly watching her now, and his face was full of fear and concern. Behind him, the passenger door of the truck he'd been riding on opened, and Negan sauntered out with Lucille slung across his shoulder. He walked over and hopped up onto the flat bed next to Eugene and looked up at Rick with a smile.
You ever hear the one about the stupid little prick named Rick who thought he knew shit but didn't know shit and got everyone that he gave a shit about killed?
He pointed his bat upwards directly at Rick's face with a smile.
It's about you.
Negan began to pace the flatbed in front of Eugene, sighing and shaking his head.
Rick, you push me, and you push me, and you push me. You just tried to blow us up, right?
He looked back up at Rick for confirmation, and then went over to throw an arm around Eugene.
See? I get me. I even get my people. But Eugene, he's one of yours.
Talisa saw betrayal flash across Eugene's face as well, as he looked over at her, realizing the truth of what Negan had said.
And after what he did, he stepped up to try and save your asses. But you people are animals. Universe gives you a sign, and you just shove a middle finger right up its ass. Dwight, Simon, chop chop.
At his final words, Dwight and Simon came forward. They pushed a metal coffin up a small ramp onto the truck bed and tilted it up so it was standing on its end.
Oh my god.
So, you guys don't like Eugene anymore, but you gotta like Sasha.
He tapped against the coffin with his bat, and Talisa felt Rosita beginning to tremble beside her.
I like her too. Got her right here. Package for your convenience, alive and well. Now, I brought her here so I wouldn't have to kill all of you, and not killing all of you could get complicated. See, I know there's a lot of firepower in there, Rick, so I'm gonna make this simple.
He turned to face Rick straight on and stood tall with his arms behind his back.
I want all the guns you managed to scrape up. Yep, I know about those too. I want every last grain of lemonade you've got left. I want a person of your own choosing for Lucille and Daryl.
His gaze shifted to where Daryl was kneeling a few feet to Talisa's left.
Yeah, I see you, Daryl. Gotta have my Daryl back. And you know what?
Negan met Talisa's eye with a horrible smirk.
I think I'm gonna take Sassy Pants there too. I don't like the ideas you've been putting in that pretty little head of hers, Rick.
Talisa's stomach turned as she saw Eugene behind him meet her eye with a pleading expression, and she realized what he expected her to do. She looked away as furious tears pricked at her eyes.
And I want the pool table, cues, and chalk.
Negan looked up hard at Rick, and when he spoke again, his voice had taken on its calm, deadly tone.
I want it now, Rick, or Sasha dies, and then so do the rest of you. Probably.
Rick stared down at him, fury radiating off of him. It seemed to Talisa like he was trying to burn him up on the spot with the intensity of his hatred.
Come on, Rick. Just because I brought her in a casket doesn't mean she has to leave in one.
Rick didn't respond, and after another minute, Talisa saw Negan face change. His expression hardened as he looked away in disgust and began to pace again.
You know what? You suck ass, Rick! You really do! I don't want to have to kill her, but that's exactly what you're gonna make me do.
Rick stared at him for a few more seconds before he finally spoke.
Let me see her.
Negan paused, watching Rick carefully, and then the obscene smile slid back onto his face.
All right, just give me a second. I might have to get her up to speed. You can't hear shit in this thing.
He walked over and cracked the coffin.
Hey, Sosh, you are not gonna believe this crap.
Everything erupted into chaos. As Negan opened the coffin, Sasha's undead body lurched forward, grabbing him by the shirt.
Holy shit!
Talisa heard him curse loudly in fear as the two of them flew off the truck. Gunfire exploded in the air as the people on the walls took advantage of the momentary distraction. Talisa just had time to see Eugene dive off of the flatbed as she turned, launching herself at Jadis's man, who was behind her, and headbutting him in the stomach. He doubled over and she grabbed his rifle, shooting him before she even had time to think about what she was doing. She rolled quickly out of the middle of the road behind the edge of the wall where she found Tara. She looked back out to see Rosita and Daryl still standing resolutely in the road, firing out at the saviors. Daryl had a machine gun and was mowing the oncoming attackers down by the dozens, but Rosita had only her handgun. After a few more seconds, they saw her fly back as a bullet caught her in the side.
Damn it, cover me!
She ran back out into the hail of bullets, and Talisa watched carefully, taking out two garbage people who'd taken aim at her from the other side of the street as she got to Rosita and threw her good arm over her shoulder, dragging her back over to safety.
Put her down here.
She ripped off the sleeve of Rosita's shirt to examine the wound carefully.
You got lucky. It just winged you in the upper arm, through and through. Can you flex your fingers? Do you feel any weakness or numbness?
Nope. I can feel it all, and it hurts like a bitch.
Good. I'm gonna use this sleeve to wrap it tight until I can get a better look at it, okay?
Sounds good to me.
Rosita winced again as Talisa used the sleeve to create a tourniquet, and then reached to pick her rifle back up.
No, you don't.
She froze and looked up into the face of one of the saviors. In their focus on Rosita, they hadn't registered the slowing of the gunfire. The gate now stood open, and the saviors were inside, rounding everyone up and getting them down on their knees. Tara glared up at the woman standing over them, and Talisa saw her hand slowly moving towards her belt.
I would highly suggest you do as she's indicating.
Talisa's heart dropped once again. The woman stepped aside as Eugene walked up to where they were standing, and Talisa's heart constricted painfully when he looked down at her. All the love and affection they'd ever shared was still there in his eyes, and the hopefulness she saw in his expression almost broke her again.
The last thing on this earth I would want is for harm to come to anyone in here. But that is especially the case when it comes to you three in particular.
You've got a funny way of showing it.
I understand how you might feel that way. Can certainly see how you would find my chosen course of action to be
Cowardly? Disgusting? Pathetic?
yes. I suppose all of the above would be reasonable from your perspective, but I beg of you, see it from mine. I was given a way out, safety and security, and a life in which I no longer had to live in the constant fear that I could be ended in an ever-present myriad of horrifying ways. Things being as they are, and weighing the pros and cons of my options, I chose to accept said way out, and you can too.
Are you fucking serious right now?
As a coronary embolism.
He turned to Talisa.
I harbor no delusions that this will be easy. There was a good deal of gritting my teeth and bearing it for me as well, but I know with time you can accept it. We can be together. Talisa, please, I have no desire to do any of this without you.
He reached a hand out to touch her cheek, but she jerked back and glared at him.
Don't touch me!
He pulled his hand back slowly as hurt and confusion filled his face.
I was never intending to abandon you. I was attempting to position myself strategically to give us the best chance at seamless integration. I have missed you every second of every day since my departure. I would never do anything to hurt you. You have to believe that. Talisa, you know that I love...
No, you don't get to say that to me. Don't you ever say that to me again. Do you understand?
She looked up at him coldly, the ice in her heart solid and permanent.
Get away from me.
Tears formed in his eyes as he looked down at her.
Talisa, please,
You heard her, Eugene. We're done here.
Eugene stood up and closed his eyes. A tear fell down his cheek and he brushed it away.
Very well. If that's your decision, I suppose I'll have to accept it. But as far as your surrender is concerned, all of you, I'm begging you to...
For a second time in the span of a few minutes, everything suddenly erupted into chaos again. There was a deafening roar that seemed to fill the air, followed immediately by screams and more volleys of gunfire. The woman holding them at gunpoint whipped around in confusion.
What the fuck was that?
Rosita kicked out, taking her legs out and grabbing her gun when she hit the ground, turning it on her and shooting her.
It's a tiger.
The kingdom.
Tara breathed as more people ran between the house
and Hilltop.
Jesus ran by as Rosita turned her gun on Eugene, who immediately cowered, covering his face with his hands.
Rosita, wait.
What do you mean, wait? This punta just asked you to.
I know what he did.
Talisa turned back to Eugene.
Go. Out of respect for what we had, I'm letting you leave. Once. So get out of here and never come back. Do you understand me?
Eugene searched her face for a moment, and she could see the pain etched in every line. But in that moment, she didn't care.
Always and forever. It's never changed. It never will.
The shots behind them grew louder, and he looked over his shoulder in fear and then turned and fled.
You're just letting him go?
Tara stepped in between the two women and put a hand against Rosita's shoulder.
Back off, Rosita. He's gone. It's over, and we've got other shit to deal with.
Don't let him out.
The women looked up sharply to see a small group of saviors, including Negan, running for the gate. Talisa and Tara dove for their weapons, but the saviors had seen them and they immediately opened fire. They ducked behind the wall supports for cover, and by the time the bullets stopped, the saviors were already outside the walls and slamming the gate. Daryl ran to it, grabbing it to try and open it, but they seemed to have jammed it from the other side. Smoke began to fill the compound, and Talisa caught glimpses of the garbage people scaling the walls as they fled. Daryl charged up onto the guard tower, and his shoulders fell as he looked out at the road.
They got away.
Rosita shoved herself angrily off the wall and stomped away.
Talisa, is that you?
Talisa looked up and saw Jerry standing in the road looking at her with an excited smile.
Jerry!
She stood up and ran over to where he was standing.
Dude, we made it into the fight.
Hell yes, you did.
She gave him an affectionate punch in the arm.
Thanks for saving our butts.
Anytime.
It was our pleasure.
Talisa turned to see Maggie standing behind him. She took 2 steps and pulled the woman into a crushing hug. Maggie hugged her back just as tightly, and they stood there for several minutes. When they finally pulled back, Maggie put her hands on her shoulders and looked into her eyes.
Are you okay?
Talisa felt the tears threatening to come to her eyes again.
No. I don't know if I've ever been less okay, but I can't. I can't let it in right now, because if I break down now, I'm not sure I'll ever be able to put myself back together.
Maggie's eyes filled with tears as well as she pulled her back in and held her tightly.
I've got you. We've got you. We'll get you through it.
When I Fall is a work of fiction based on AMC's The Walking Dead. Any characters not created by the author are the property of said company. The story will continue in the next chapter.